"Sit, my children," the abbot said softly, "because what I'm about to tell you is the story of a young man who spent half his life chasing people who were never meant to stay, and almost lost the purpose he was born for." He paused, eyes scanning the room, sensing the silent ache each follower carried. "Some of you came here with the same wound," he continued. "You are exhausted, not from life, but from chasing people who never turned around." The mountain air was cold that morning. The followers sat in a circle around the abbot. Some were kneeling, some cross-legged, some hugging their own arms as though holding themselves together. Each face carried a story. A woman who felt abandoned by everyone she ever trusted. A young man who kept bending his life to impress people who barely remembered his name. A middle-aged merchant who spent years groomed to believe that being alone meant he had failed. A scholar who felt invisible to the world, even after all his accomplishments. A soldier who wondered why giving everything was never enough. And a child who simply wanted to know what made people stay. The abbot looked at them with compassion, as though he could see the invisible chains they carried. "You chase validation because the silence terrifies you," he said. "You chase attention because solitude feels like rejection. You chase people because you fear purpose might ask more of you than they do." He stood slowly, hands behind his back. "But today you will understand something vital. Your life is not built by who stays with you, but by who you become when no one does." He motioned for them to gather closer. "And to teach you that, I will tell you the story of Liran, the boy who chased people until the day he met himself. The boy who chased footsteps." Liran arrived at the monastery many years ago as a teenager, thin, restless, eyes darting at every voice, every footstep, as though searching for approval in every corner of the world. He bowed a little too deeply, spoke a little too fast, laughed a little too loudly. He wanted everyone to like him, but the abbot had seen his kind before. Liran wasn't hungry for wisdom. He was starving for belonging. He tried to befriend the monks. He tried to impress the elders. He tried to win admiration by doing people's chores, carrying their burdens, mimicking their behaviors. And every time one monk walked away, or didn't return his smile, or spoke sharply to him, Liran shattered inside. He questioned himself, blamed himself, reshaped himself, again and again until he barely knew who he was. One day, after chores, Liran finally confessed. "Brother," he told the abbot, "I do not think anyone here likes me. I try, I give, I bend myself into every shape I can think of, but people still slip through my fingers." The abbot smiled. "People," he said gently, "are not stones you can grip, they are wind. The harder you grasp, the faster they flee." Liran frowned. "Then how do I make them stay?" "You don't," the abbot replied. "You make purpose stay. People follow purpose. They abandon neediness." Liran didn't understand. Not yet. The Valley of Echoes. To teach him, the abbot sent Liran on a journey to the Valley of Echoes, where a solitary path stretched between two mountains. "Walk," the abbot instructed, "and listen." So Liran walked. Whenever he called out, his voice echoed back. Whenever he cried out for help, the mountains answered with empty repetition. Whenever he asked a question, the only reply was his own voice returning to him. Days passed. Liran grew frustrated. "Why does nothing respond? Why does no one answer? Why must I travel alone?" he shouted. But the mountains simply returned his cry. Alone, alone, alone. Exhausted and hopeless, Liran finally collapsed onto a rock and whispered, "Am I truly worth nothing unless someone follows me?" A soft breeze stirred, and this time the echo returned differently. "Worth you. You." Liran's eyes widened. For the first time, he realized the echo had always been his reflection. He had been yelling at the world, instead of listening to himself. The stranger on the cliff. On the sixth day, Liran encountered a stranger meditating at the cliff edge. The man did not greet Liran. He did not look up. He did not acknowledge his presence. Liran cleared his throat. "Hello." Silence. He stepped closer. "Can you hear me?" Nothing. Finally, irritated, Liran shouted. "Why are you ignoring me?" Still no response. And in that painful silence, Liran finally experienced the truth he had avoided his whole life. People are not obligated to notice you. It struck him deeply, not as rejection, but as liberation. He sat next to the silent stranger. They stayed there together until dusk. No words, no expectations, just presence. And for the first time in his life, Liran did not feel invisible. He simply felt enough. The return. When Liran returned to the monastery after 2 weeks, something about him was different. He walked slower. He spoke softer. He no longer scanned rooms in search of faces that might approve of him. He carried himself like someone who had met himself and finally bowed in respect. The monks noticed. The elders noticed. Even the abbot noticed. People who had once ignored him now gravitated toward his calm. Not because he chased them, but because he stopped. That very evening, Liran bowed to the abbot. "I understand now," he said. "When I chased people, I lost myself. When I chased purpose, people appeared." The abbot nodded. "And tell me, Liran, what is your purpose?" Liran smiled. "To become the kind of man who does not need to be followed, to walk a path worth following." Breakdown of wisdom/lessons. The abbot turned back to his followers. "Liran's story is yours," he said. "You may not walk valleys or cliffs, but the lessons are the same." He raised one finger. Lesson 1. You suffer because you chase what was never yours. You beg for love, attention, loyalty, but none of these can be forced. When you chase people, you trade your identity for their footsteps. Another finger. Lesson 2. People respond to energy, not effort. When you are desperate, anxious, clingy, your spirit shouts, "I am not enough," and people hear it. But when you walk with purpose, your silence speaks louder than your chasing ever could. Third finger. Lesson 3. Purpose is magnetic. A person aligned with their mission becomes a lighthouse. They don't run after ships. Ships navigate toward them. Fourth finger. Lesson 4. Losing people is not the real loss. Losing yourself is. You can spend your entire life auditioning for roles in other people's lives and never be chosen. Why? Because you were meant to star in your own. Fifth finger. Lesson 5. Chase becoming better, not being wanted. The world does not reward the person who screams for attention. The world rewards the person who builds value, even in silence. The abbot lowered his hand. Now you understand. People come and go. Purpose stays and grows. 5. Call to transformation. The abbot stepped closer to his followers, voice low and powerful. "Children, today is the day you stop running after anyone." He pointed to their chests. "This is where your life begins. Not in their approval. Not in their attention. Not in their footsteps." He paused, letting the silence settle like snow. "From this moment forward, you do not chase people. You chase becoming the version of yourself who no longer needs to." His tone deepened. "Your future self is watching. Don't disappoint the one person who will never leave you." The abbot turned away, hands folded behind him. "Remember this, my children," he whispered. "Those who belong in your life will walk with you. Those who don't were only meant to teach you how to walk alone." He looked over his shoulder. "And when you walk with purpose, you never walk alone." "If this spoke to your soul," the abbot said softly, "then watch the next teaching I have prepared for you." A gentle gesture. "It will meet you where you are and guide you to who you must become."